Alright, I had to start and restart it and clip off some of the parts that I wanted to do and see and show because I had to go through the process, which you will have to do if you're a female. If you want your Pokemon to be a female like you have to keep restarting the game and you have to save it right when you're at the professor's lab, right before you choose a Pokemon, and then you gotta save it, and then you pick your Pokemon. And if it's a male and you don't want the male, then you reset the game, restart it, and then redo it again and again until you get a female. So that's the process that ended up happening. I had to do that for the triplets because the professor ends up giving them females of the starters. Okay, the grandsons get their males also. Okay, so the males get, and you'll see how that goes. All right, so like I explained on the concept of the rivalry of what your rival will pick when you pick the certain type, you'll see this firsthand. Now explains in depth of the game right now. But of course, Spleefa, she ends up picking Bulbasaur, and of course the professor asks, "What will you name your Bulbasaur?" And she ends up naming her Leafa. And in her instance of grabbing that, of course, Maz picks Charmander. Okay? Of course, Splendor picks Squirtle. And in the funny sense, I said the name real quick, of course, of what she names her Squirtle. And it is Splendid. And she's a female, too. And of course, Daz ends up picking Bulbasaur. Okay? Spot, she ends up picking Charmander, of course, and the female, and it catches my attention in the movie scene, but it doesn't show it. But it catches, like it does show it, but it doesn't really bring it out. It's one of those if you catch it when you see it scenes. But she ends up picking a Charmander, and she ends up naming her Flames. And of course, Kaz ends up picking Squirtle, right behind Taz. So I did movies before, and Kaz was my rival also before in the starter. So he had Squirtle also. So in the same sense, it all relates and it all continues on and adds on. So in that same sense, let me put it back to it. Okay. And as you can see and know, it's in the beginning concept of the game. But this is going to be a cheat code that ends up happening. Hopefully they redevelop it and they do this. But he says he has the request. He's like, alright, now I have a request for you all. And then boom, he's like, on the desk here is my invention. And then he's like, the Pokédex. And then one of the lab assistants ends up running in, funny, super funny. And he's like, and then he runs up. He ends up dropping. He has a set of them in the box and stuff. He's running up. He's like, ah. He's like, Professor, I have the Pokédexes. And he's like, ah. He trips. He knocks them over. They fall over. A few break, but there's still enough for all 8 of us still. That the professor picks him up and stuff, and he's like, there's my invention of Pokédex, The professor, in that sense, when he is picking them up, his main assistant, the one that's cool that everybody's gonna like, with the black glasses, he walks by and he's about to go into downstairs. He's about to walk through the staircase straight downstairs to the terrain area, and he's like, Professor, you should have chose me to bring the Pokédexes. And he goes downstairs. He's like, see you kids. You know what I mean? He's like spontaneous. He comes through and he comes in and out through scenes and stuff. As you know, before he says that, the other assistant, like, he's like, He's like the professor's like, yeah, I mean, he's swole about the situation that the A assistant dropped the Pokédex, and he's like, oh yeah, right, back to work. And then that's when the assistant comes by, cool with the glasses. He's like, should have chose me to bring the Pokédexes, Professor. It's funny, but yeah, we'll be like that, and then boom. Okay, so he's like, well, as we'll get back to it. It's my invention, the Pokédex. It automatically records data on Pokemon you've seen or caught. But he's like, it's a high encyclopedia. But you have to first catch and obtain the Pokemon to gain the information about that Pokemon. So, you know what I mean? He says, like, I'm going to need you all to take these with you, of course. So the wording that's going on right now is going to be exploited, hopefully, and added and re-added. And remade for the movies, of course. But he's like, you all need to take these with you, and I'll need you all to do research for me, if you may. And, be like, he's like, I'll need you all to catch these Pokemon, like catch as many Pokemon as you can for me. Various types of gender, also male and female, for the Pokédex to get research information about them. Okay? And everybody's like, okay. Like, yay, okay. And he's like, you can get detailed data on Pokemon just by seeing them, but you must catch them to obtain them and complete data. So, of course, that would happen right there. So, here's some tools for catching the wild Pokemon also. And then he ends up giving us all Pokeballs, okay? We all get 5 Pokeballs. So, he has a lot of Pokeballs in the actual principle. So, he says, when a wild Pokemon appears, it's fair game. Just throw a Pokeball at it and try to catch it. This won't always work, however. A healthy Pokemon can escape. You have to be lucky if you're going to catch it. To make a complete guide on all the Pokemon in the world. That was his dream. He's too old to get the job done, so I want you all to fulfill my dream for me. So he's like, get moving, you all. So then, the great undertaking in Pokemon history. So, alright. Now, I mean, the group's like saying, they're like, hey, awesome, blah, blah, blah. Taz was watching the whole time while I was watching, seeing everybody get their Pokemon. So, he says, and he boldly steps in front of everybody, and he's like, alright, Gramps, leave it all to me. He's like, Stefan, I hate to say it, but you won't be necessary for this. He's like, I know. I'll borrow a time map from my sis. And I'll tell her not to lend you one, Stefan. Haha. Don't bother to come around this place after this. Okay? So in that instance, you know, we're about to follow him, but the professor says, and you know, he says that, but that's last. Like, right when I'm about to leave, everybody introduces themselves. All the grandchildren introduce and everything. And then says Pokemon, wait around the world for you, Stefan. I'm gonna need help from all of you. Okay, so we end up leaving. In this instance, we all end up going straight over to their house together. And we end up talking. And of course, she says, Grandpa asked you to run an errand. It's lazy of him. Here, this will help you all. Yeah, I mean, of course, she says before that, that sentence, Grandpa asked to run an errand for you. She says, knowing from Taz, Grandpa asked the errand from, you know what I mean, asked you to run an errand. I know from Taz, blah, blah, blah. So then she gives us all town maps, just like she did for him. And it's helpful in the situation, and it ends up helping. Okay? In this instance, we leave, walk through. Everybody's like, you know, we're about to leave. And then they're like, you should go tell your mom. I'm sure. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm here to return these.
Alright, sounds good.
How are you?
What's up, bro?
It's good to see you. It's good to see you also.
Okay, 26.
Probably might be back if you're still up here.
Perfect, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, bro. Take it easy.
All right, bro. I'll see you in the neighborhood. You know it, bro.
Stay warm.
You know it. We try. We're growing too fast. You know it.
There you go.
Hey.
All right, thank you.
So I end up talking to Mom, and she ends up telling us to take a rest again, and we all get healed, and we end up getting excited, and we're on the route. Probably see you ladies later or tomorrow. You'll also. So I'll just take another section of rest just to make it longer because of all of us 8 just there resting. Okay, it can be that they get to their own house if you like, or if so. Now I'm back outside, so you'll probably hear the wind in all these cars. But we're gonna continue on the route and the more of the storyline a little bit later. I'm gonna try to do it inside in peace and privacy when we're back inside. So I'm gonna try to do it. Sadly, it's gonna be pretty bad because I hope that they don't think that I'm ignoring them, but I'm trying to do this video in the concept for you guys. If they watch it with me, if we watch it and sit down one day, they'll understand this. So the game is saved, and I'll be back to see you all. See y'all.